This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Good! Whatever time you're having, dear friends. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 10 of Just Punishments, where we are reviewing Season 2, Episode 10, The Dark Hearts of Men. I am your host, Charlie the Professor Esser. With me, as always, is my very skinny, very rich, very amazing...
It's Mozz.
Tonight's episode, The Dark Hearts of Men. Esme, Donnie, and Krista debate who's worth saving. Frank prepares to storm Russo's territory. A brutal encounter pushes Pilgrim back into old habits. Our director tonight is Alex Garcia Lopez, Jerry Conway, John Romita Sr., and, of course, Ross Andrew get our Marvel credits this episode. Steve Lightfoot gets our created by Steve Lightfoot, and Angela Lamanna get our written by credits week. Angela Lamanna, she's once again our executive story editor, and the person she pushes around is just our regular story editor, hardest working man in show business this week, Ken Christ. This was a neat episode. I really like this episode. It plays with time a little bit. We open up, of course, with Frank and Billy running the gauntlet, basically the initiation into their, elite special forces group, where they run the gauntlet. They have to run past each of the other senior members who each, punch them and kick them and the like. And two things struck me about this. First is, so of course Billy goes first and he goes through it, and they're punching him hard, and they're doing some face shots, just to take that smile off his face. Then when Frank runs, it looks a lot more brutal for Frank.
Right?
Yeah, did you feel that?
Absolutely, and I was wondering why that was. Because they knew he was tougher, or maybe, the kind of personality he is, he probably got underneath everybody's skin during training or whatever, and he probably mouthed off to a lot of people, and they were waiting. I think it's an interesting little touch that they throw in that gives you a bit of his relationship to the rest of those men, aside, and especially points Russo out as special because they got along so well, because obviously the rest of the men had some tension with him. And at the end, he's the only one that offers him his hand to get up. Nobody else,
What I thought was most telling, and for what it's worth, I think maybe Frank Castle is probably a real killing nerd. So in nerd class, in killing class, he was probably like, well, actually, best way to kill someone at close range is this, and this, and this, and that he was so good at it, and that kind of overshined all of the older recruits. So I think that might have had something. But what I thought was most telling is, even though Frank and him, they're going into this so bonded, but the second Frank gets to the end of the gauntlet, Russo, who of course went through first and so is now officially initiated, takes that sucker punch on him, goes to comfort him, and then immediately sucker punches to kind of basically like the older twin, saying, "I'm 3 seconds older than you, man."
That's interesting. I saw it a little differently, because to me, if you think about it, they're doing it out of love. It is violent, it is whatever, and I guess in a way it's sort of like a last chance to air your grievances or get it out before you bond in this brotherhood. So it's done in a matter of love, and in that moment he wants to share that with him also. That's how I saw it. Like, it's like, I'm your brother in this too, and I get to have this. So boom, here we are. And just, it was a celebratory thing. I thought that's how I took it.
I mean, I can follow that logic. Although I guess there's maybe this other level of it, which is like, yeah, it's out of love, but it's also out of a love that is kind of a sick and twisted love. It's the kind of love where there is always meant to be a power dynamic. This is just to prove that you're not, you're not going to. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can look at it, but I can't think that when you're pummeling, especially after the pummeling Frank gets, because they're even kicking him when he's on the ground there and he's getting back up and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that's as much out of love as it is out of an attempt to sort of remind someone of their place. and to remind everyone that there's a hierarchy here, and this is where you are in the hierarchy. And I think even along those same lines, that goes into that idea that these guys maybe know Frank Castle is going to be overshadowing them. They also, so that this is going to be their one chance to sort of say, hey, there's a pecking order here before Frank Castle says yeah, and I'm the head rooster, So that's a neat way that it goes. I think now I think we go from. Do we go from that right to Pilgrim?
Yes, because we get that beautiful, beautiful scene.
Oh gosh,
just like a ballet of violence, and not just violence, but sometimes there's violence that's made for the viewer to enjoy. It's stylized and whatnot, and then there's violence where it's meant for the perpetrator to enjoy, and we just get to be voyeurs. And that's what this scene was. It was so visceral and raw and not stylized and just real. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. Well, and it really sort of gives you the sort of emotional punch that you need to see him decline back into his old ways, snorting cocaine off of his blood-stained hand. There could have been 30 people's blood on that hand.
Yeah, and not for nothing. It is about there's it's the Alcoholics Anonymous thing. And I'm not gonna lie, man. After I stopped drinking for Lent, and I get those great ideas about how maybe I just won't go back to drinking. And then first drink, man, I'm right back to where I was, because it is something that is calling to you. It's something that takes a lot of that directed effort to not be that person. And
right.
He had for so long been this enforcer for the Schultzes, and he could do that only because he was keeping everything so compartmentalized. When they basically tell him to let loose, and he's like, I don't think that's a good idea. Even from the start, he says, I don't think it's a good idea for me to go to New York. New York's, which is, again, a classic thing for any addict, that when they're trying to be clean, they got to avoid the people and the places that trigger them.
Right.
And, but they say you have to do this for the good. You have to do this for us, And I think, there is this quality here, which is, this quality here where he is going into his spiral. And we see him, we see not only him beating these people near to death and just cutting back and forth from him cleaning himself up, and like when he pulls the guy's teeth out of his scalp.
Oh my God. You know what I thought was cool about that? Up to this point, we had only seen him stoic and completely in control of his emotions. This was the first moment where we got to see him be afraid, vulnerable, broken down, like laid bare, and not having the facade up of this image. And it humanized him, especially in that moment where he's pulling the teeth out and he's crying as he's doing it. It just, all of a sudden, I like the way that they cut back from that back to the scene, the fight, and then back to him. So it immediately humanizes him. And then all of a sudden, when he's in that fight, you sort of care for him and you want him to be okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really nicely done.
And of course, it makes sense that he is crying, because he is watching himself destroy himself in this moment. And I think, when he gets the phone call coming in and he just ignores it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we get the resolution of that phone call this episode or next episode, but it is.
He ignores it a second time towards the end of this episode, I think. They show him again, I think.
But we don't get to. Yeah, I think it's next episode we find out what that call was about. And it just, although we do get, just to give this story its encapsulation, he goes next door and gets at least one of the hookers from next door, whom I'm assuming he's paying. I'm assuming he's still got a roll of bills. So
right.
I don't think it was hard for him to pay. He just wanted to take this guy's hooker because he didn't want to go out and find his own.
Okay, here's what I thought was interesting about that scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
You hear him saying in the other room, slow down, I got you for the hour, right?
Yeah, right.
So this guy has enough money to hire 5 girls for an hour, but just for an hour?
Well,
Or he can't just order like, two or it seems like,
well,
I don't know.
What he was saying is, slow down. I paid for the full hour.
Right, but he had 5 girls there. Like, you don't order 5 girls for one. I mean, it just seemed kind of.
Well, I guess he maybe had some friends coming.
Oh, that's fair. Okay.
Because the guy.
But then why for the hour? I don't know. It seemed a little.
No. What he was saying is, what his exact quote was, because I just watched it again today. Was slow down. I'm paying for the full hour. Basically meaning don't make me finish too quickly with what we're doing here, because I want to do more when my friend gets here. Okay.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seemed a little.
But what I love about that is, you guys want money, right? Yeah. Okay. Where's Ben? There's Ben. Okay. So,
see, now that we have the completion to that whole narrative thread, I think we definitely should leave it in there.
Yes, but there you go, boys. Go get yourself something nice. Buy yourself something pretty. Yeah. Okay. What? No, just go get your snack. But Ben, okay, everybody stick together, okay? Oh, you don't want to get a snack? You were the one that called. Okay. Oh, okay. He was just the one that asked. So, okay.
Oh, gotcha. He was the one that was assigned the role.
Yes, he just wants to chill out and play on his phone and then go catch Pokemon later. Okay, that's
gotcha.
Fine. Yeah. Okay. I gave the other two too much money, but that's fine. Good thing I'm made of money. That's what I would say. Anyway, just like our friend here, Pilgrim, as we get back to this story. Yeah, so obviously the guy was throwing like a party. And he, when Pilgrim pulls the gun on him, we don't see what happens next, but I'm going to assume, I'm going to basically make this assumption, because he only comes back with one girl. That he basically says, he takes the girl, and obviously these are girls that pay up front, because the guy said he paid for the full hour, so I'm assuming he paid her for the full hour, because she seemed like she was doing her best as a servant, that it wasn't a coerced situation per se.
Right. She was surprised when he said go. It wasn't like, oh God, I get to leave now. It was like, oh, what? But I wasn't done. I'm still getting the job.
That's why you get paid up front,
right.
Like the guy said, he was trying to make it last for the full hour. It's like,
right.
But, and of course you get that moment when the woman looks up at him with the tears in her eyes, and it's his wife's face, And I think we also get in that flashback where he just, before all this, he's telling his wife who he really is,
Yeah. And she says, go finish it and then come back to me as John.
Yeah.
John.
Exactly. And
or Charles.
No, John is his name.
Okay, gotcha. But Robert was his name.
Yeah, Robert was his name. And they also do implicitly again say that, he was working with white supremacists that, just hated people for being different than him and yada, yada, yada. So, I mean, honestly, the Pilgrim arc in just this episode is really worth the price of admission.
Right. Much like last episode, it was all about Russo. Here they're painting another villainous character in a better light, I guess.
Yeah. Although I think Russo, by the end of this, comes out as evil as ever.
Right. I feel like maybe that's why they didn't let him fester so long on the news that he killed his best friend's family, maybe partially his own family in a way, because they didn't want him to be redeemable in any sense.
Yeah. And
like they did with Pilgrim here.
And there's an aspect of this in what Pilgrim says to the hooker, where he says, brotherhood is just a funhouse smear reflecting back, just reflecting yourself back at you, and I thought
that's a good thing.
Well, no, not really, because he's basically saying how empty it is, that this brotherhood, either whether it was the Aryan Brotherhood that he was a member of, or I think that also applies to his current brethren, of this church, that in both cases it is this idea that, when people are asking you to fight and die for them, out of your loyalty to the brotherhood, it is often a false narrative.
Right. It's mostly a self-serving endeavor.
Yes, exactly. And I think we're going to get more of this next episode, because I know he speaks with some of the elders later, and I think that and it might be even the episode after this one or after the next one, where he starts giving this pushback of, like Achilles in the tent. Why should I kill other soldiers just for these wars of kings?
Yeah.
These men are no different than me. But we get an interesting parallel in that, again, with Russo at the end, when he is giving his speech to his men before knowing that the Punisher is going to engage them, knowing what's going to happen. And honestly, when you think about it, knowing the Punisher, and he makes the point, there's only 4 of these guys here, that the Punisher is going to kill all 4 of his men. He knows that. He is literally sacrificing these men, and then, spoilers for the very end, the women that he keeps behind. He is sacrificing them just to mess with the Punisher.
Right.
Which shows how little he actually ever cared about Brotherhood. That it
Right.
is just
And
dark funhouse.
He knows they're all gonna die, right?
Yeah.
But which brings us to how unbelievably bad at her job Dina Madani is. Like, she's in the FBI. Your whole job is reading people and sussing out danger and plots, and getting to people's true intentions. And here's a person who obviously has an affinity for Russo, called you out of the blue and wants to be friends, and because she mentioned the word wine, you're all of a sudden perfectly fine and perfectly fine divulging information, strategically important information, legally actionable information to this person because she supposedly wants to be your friend. It's unbelievable.
Well, I think there's 2 aspects to this. I think the first aspect is just the idea that, this person that she is confiding in is honestly a what do you call it? Is a professional, meaning that not only is she professional at getting you to talk in a way that really, you think about, if you're an FBI person, yes, part of your job is getting people to talk, but then there's all these other compartments. This person's only job is to get you to talk.
Right.
And likewise, to always conceal her own motivations and her own strategies from the person she's talking to. So when she's talking to this FBI agent, honestly, yeah, she probably should have been more suspicious, and I think she probably was more suspicious. But I think that on a couple of levels, it is this idea that she really wanted to talk to someone, because she never has anyone that she can talk to about this stuff, because, like you say, a lot of this stuff is actionable. We're talking about stuff that really is not something that is something that you can really discuss with people or deal with.
Right, and she goes out and says, "I want him dead." Oh my God! It's how are you that dumb?
Well, but she does want him dead, and
I know, but you can't say that to the public. That's.
And again, she's saying this in what is presumably a counselor, counseling protected environment.
Right. Now, and even that, her decision to accept the situation as such seems suspect to me. That she thinks this is a safe situation, knowing the person's history, knowing the person's feelings towards Russo. It's insane.
Yeah. And although, again, there is this quality, again, where you have to ask, is the information that she eventually gives to Russo as secret as might be implied? It's like, it's like, yeah, it's a,
right, but it does hurt them strategically. Like going forward, she no longer has a leg to stand on, strategically speaking, if they want to devise a plan whereby they try to trick Russo into thinking, hey, Madani's going to take you in. You're going to go to jail. Frank's not going to kill you. Now he's not going to believe it. Like, she's laid bare her intentions completely to the enemy. It's, you know?
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is, and I think they do touch base on this, because first off, they have the death penalty in New York. There's also a national death penalty. So there's no way this guy, if he gets captured, is avoiding a needle unless he totally pleads out. And what she actually says is what she really wants is for him, what if I did bring him in, and what if, we do this? And she's like, I want him to live with that knowledge that I beat him and that he didn't affect me. And really at its core, that she wants to kill him, she feels is Russo winning. Because at the end of the day, what I feel Russo is looking to do is to say, none of you are better than me. That I'm not bad, you all are bad. And I'm just as, that there is no moral high ground for anyone to seize. So I'm justified in all of my actions for self-fulfillment.
Right. You're all lying to yourself. I'm the only realist.
Exactly. And I do think that is what he is trying to
misery loves company.
And for what it's worth, I mean, honestly, what you can definitely say about both Madani and Kristen, I think, is that neither one is that good at their jobs. I mean, Krista. I mean, they're good at their jobs in the sense that they are clearly good at what they've done. They've risen to impressive ranks in their industry. But at the same time, that Krista can't see through Billy is so desperate to save someone. So desperate.
It bothered me the whole time. She came off in the beginning as this caring individual that was sort of drawn to this case of trying to save this person as a challenge professionally, right? And then all of a sudden you see her become this diabolical, evil type person, conniving and blah, blah, blah. And then they sort of even start hinting at maybe there's some darkness inside her based on some trauma, yada, yada, yada. So they made the character travel emotionally quite a distance, right? And then it's like all of a sudden she's hung up on Russo. And so it makes me think, like, initially, was she really just a good-hearted person that got turned evil somehow, which for some reason I don't see any sort of steps that they walked to get her there? Or did she initially do it because she was just attracted to Billy because he was crazy?
Well, I mean, I think it's, it's often thought of in this way that, Jigsaw is kind of meant to be the Joker, the Punisher's Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they wanted to do their own Harley Quinn story here. So.
Oh, how interesting.
I mean, obviously they're not one-for-one matches, but this actually does smack a lot of the Harley Quinn story, where it's like,
right,
because there is this idea that she's approaching this person as a professional, and that she is trying to aid this person. And as she says, her dream, which I think literally is her dream, that if I can just get one of you guys out of your hells, basically, Billy's in hell, you're in hell, Frank's in hell, all of you guys are in this place of constant torment. If I can just get one of you to come out of it, then that will get me out of mine. And I think in a way what she's doing when she is coming, doing this turn for Billy, Billy's the one I'm working with. And maybe if Billy can get his revenge.
So I guess the question becomes, do you think she honestly is mistaken about who Billy is, or do you think she sees Billy for who he is but recognizes a piece of herself in him, so she's willing to give up everything to join something that's like her?
Well, I think this is my point, and I think the idea is so she is very critical of the "have you tried killing them yet" school of solving your emotional problems. That
But is
basically,
she though? But is she
well,
though?
no, well, here's what I'll say.
Because her suggestion is to kill these hookers
Well, I don't know if
to.
that's her suggestion. Her suggestion is you have to take away. We don't know what her suggestion is. She just says, I know how to get Frank Castle. And the idea is you have to make Frank realize he's not he's not moral. He's not that basically what I think the argument is, because I think we get it in this episode. No, actually that's not until next episode. Okay, so there's another reveal in the next episode
Hmm.
where you find out that Billy never wanted to kill Frank. He just wanted Frank to kill people who he
Who
who
are
he
also
did
soldiers.
yeah who weren't really people that he
Yeah.
would normally have killed. And
But
I think
turn
there's
them into those. So it's like it's a silly plot. And personally, I think that Billy killed those women on his own and left them there because there's no way with all the guns going off. Well, maybe they were hiding up there, but they would have tried. They would have left a while ago, and all the girls left. So I think he didn't really do it. And for him to jump to that conclusion that quick, but again, he's not in the right state of mind. He's almost dead, so I can understand his.
Well, we also hear him going like, wait, what? Because like, how did this
Yeah.
happen? Because he
Yeah.
just busts in there, and Billy does his little Hannibal Lecter taunt, and again, Frank can't shoot him.
Mm.
It's just but I think you get a parallel to this with Curtis when he goes back to Amy, and he is talking to her. That is in this episode, right, where Curtis goes back to Amy and
Yeah.
talks about watching a guy die. So
I don't know.
yeah,
Because I've watched a little bit of the next episode. I don't know if I watched all of it.
yeah. So anyway, well, if not, this will be a little bit of a spoiler. But so
Yeah.
Curtis's story in this is he's doing the sniper post. Again, not his field, but he's doing it. You need a sniper up there. And at first he just wounds a couple of the guys.
Yeah.
Which actually, I mean, the math on this doesn't seem right. I think he might have had more than. Might have had more. I think it was just talking to his 4 core guys, but maybe they picked up a couple other guys.
Right, exactly. What he's saying, the guys who started this, there was only four, but since then he's recruited quite a few more.
Recruited quite a few more. Okay, so that's fine then. But he does shoot 2 guys in the legs, and then a third guy comes up, and he actually has to shoot him in the chest, and then he does all his rapid med stuff. Although honestly, there's not much he can do with that. He just shot him with a high caliber rifle, and it's not like there's a medevac coming. And I doubt he had a full med kit with him. He's basically just holding this guy in his arms while the guy bleeds out, and him making the statement. It's like I never realized how different it would be. I've patched up so many guys and I've seen so many guys die, but watching a guy die because of a bullet I put in him, and then he's done. He's like, what is Frank giving to us? And it is just this idea of, everyone's taken. Now, of course, Amy is still dedicated to Frank, and she kind of has to be because Frank's the one that has to kill the Schultzes. And Amy's like, man, someone's got to kill the Schultzes. And,
yeah. Otherwise, it's 5 million reasons for other people to kill me.
yeah. To be honest, it's like she really, really needs Frank to get through this because she is kind of flotsam on the ocean here. She does not have any ability to save herself in this moment, especially from a guy like Pilgrim. Now she doesn't know that Pilgrim has gone completely off the rails at this moment.
Right, but I don't know. I wonder if Pilgrim has completely gone off the rails. I think he's the type that is going to compartmentalize this and wake up tomorrow morning and be okay and be right back to the grind. I think that's the kind of guy he is.
And again, like I said, just speaking from my own brushes with addiction,
Mm-hmm.
which broad brushes as they are. I don't know if he's gonna. I think the falling off is so severe that when he fell off this wagon, I think there's so much more going on for him that it's not going to be something he just goes, oh, okay, I'm done. Okay, bye. I think that there's way more to it than that, and I think that it's something that he's going to have to deal with for
I hear you.
for at least another couple of episodes. Of course, we only have 3 left, so it will get resolved shortly. But I do think that they are going to have to resolve it. Oh, any other thoughts on tonight's episode, Maz?
Nah, just that I thought this was one of the best episodes of the season so far.
Yeah,
Absolutely loved it.
this was a great episode. Really great fight scenes, and I love the whole when Frank is going in the tunnel and they start like doing the
The
strobe
music,
and the rock music, just trying to disorient
so
him. Yeah, you think this was
so.
from a Daredevil episode?
Was it?
No, but it's that.
Oh,
So for example, stuff like that when people like realize Daredevil's secret, that's a
mm,
great way to. That's how you try to disorient them. Is you just give them these flashes of sound, and you wouldn't do it to light, of course, with Daredevil, but the idea. But then of course that's a very valuable idea because when you do the flash, it makes it so your eyes can't readjust to the darkness.
right.
So that you're basically fighting blind. And yeah, so I mean, it's a brilliant way to do it. And of course, honestly, the fight in with the white supremacist was just so intense, so
Unreal.
intense. And I love that, and we get this with Frank's stuff too. But I kind of feel like with Pilgrim, it's a little more, it's a less superhero-y when Pilgrim gets the cuts.
Right.
I think it
Right.
really hurts Pilgrim a lot more than they let it show on Frank. Frank, he takes a shot of whiskey and sews up his butt, and then he's
Yeah.
and then he's fine the next day.
Right.
Broke his hand, but yeah, I can still shoot. By the end of the
Yeah.
week, I'm fine.
And his bulletproof vest there must be made out of vibranium.
Yeah, well, you know what? Not for nothing. This is like, you always got to take that kind of stuff into account in these kind of universes, which is that actually, if tech has advanced the way it has, that probably, yeah, the bulletproof vests are a little bit more bulletproof.
Yeah.
Yet still, no one knows to go for a headshot.
Well, headshots are hard to hit. They're not easy.
I can imagine that they are. Well, let me put it this way: I can imagine that they're harder to hit than a chest shot. But really, if you're shooting for a guy's heart, that's even smaller than a face. I'm just saying,
Right.
shooting
No,
the
but
guy
I
in the
think
face.
most of the time people are generally shooting at like the biggest target they can aim at, a moving target, especially that's also shooting back at you.
Yeah,
You try to have the best percentage of hitting the guy.
yeah.
Maybe you catch a leg or an arm in the frickus, but
Yeah, I mean, I understand the premise. I just think, although honestly, if you even caught his arm, he doesn't have the armor on his arm, so
right.
And
I think he did get
those are
caught on
very
his arms
vascular
and
regions.
shoulders
You
a
just
few
need to get a
times.
guy to bleed out. So
Yeah.
yeah. But actually, that's arguably the reason why you paint the skull on the armor, is because it makes that stand out as a target.
Ah.
It's the same, that's why Captain America has a bullseye on his shield.
Oh wow, that's
Because you're going to shoot
interesting.
at that bullseye.
Huh.
Because
Yeah, subconscious
yeah,
can't help but
exactly.
do.
Cap has said that a few times in the comments. Like, I've never understood why
Hmm.
people just keep on shooting at my shield. But it's like, because that's a target. It's three
Yeah.
concentric circles. I know where to shoot.
It's how I was raised.
Exactly. Okay, so in the meantime, Maz, how can people find you if they'd like to touch base with you and talk about all the wonders that are the Punisher?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, the way our Maz and Paz once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitters as I live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And, well, not Cloak and Dagger because that's off for the season. But the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be back, and I'm going to try and live tweet it again next week @Charlie Esser. That's CHARLIESSER. Look for 2 E's in the middle.
Bing.
For quality. Dear penitents, you are now absolved of all of your sins. You may go forth in peace to sin no more. But when you do sin, return here for your just punishments. Good night.